What is up, everyone? My name is Michael Pohl with Bay Area Aquatics, and today we're going to be talking about the Marina hang-on-back breeder boxes. Alright, before we get started with the video, I'm going to jump in here really quick and say the new Bay Area Aquatics merch store is launched. We are no longer on a Teespring store. We are on www.bayareaaquatics.com/shop. There's a bunch of t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that there. Way better quality than Teespring. Go check it out, and that's my plug for the video. Alright, so a lot of people use these. They're not new to the market by any means. They come in a couple different sizes. This is the large one. They also make a medium one, and then they make a small one as well. And I don't have the small one just because I don't need one that small. But they all have their pros and cons, especially compared to like an internal breeding box. Now, one of the biggest pros on these for me is they're very, very low powered. They're ran off of air. And so if you're already running an air system, all it takes is another air line. If you're running like an air pump for an air stone, you could splice into that air line and use like a gang valve and have this as a second airline option. Or you could do what I do, and I personally have a nano USB air pump from Aquarium Co-op for each one of the hang-on-back filter or hang-on-back breeder boxes that I have, just so that it has its own dedicated air pump. I'm not worried about it, and it's just there. And if the power ever goes out, I can choose to run just that versus choosing to run the filter or something like that, just to kind of keep everything moving and make sure that the fry are okay. Another thing that I love about them is they're super, super, super versatile. You can use them for a variety of things. Most people use them for fry grow outs, but you can use them to put a fish in timeout. I had a situation where I got some fish early and I didn't have a tank ready for them, and I had a beta fish in a tank, and that was the tank that they were going to go in, but his tank that was new wasn't quite ready, so he ended up going into one of these breeder boxes on the side of my 75 because I didn't want him in the 75 because of like the angelfish and things like that, and he stayed in the breeder box for a couple of days until I was able to get all the tanks moved around and make sure everyone had homes. So they can be used as like temporary holding spots. It's not a separate tank, it is all in the same water, so that's something to keep in mind. But if your fish have already been through quarantine and you don't mind it, that's not that big of a deal. They can also be used as a live bearer drop. The medium one has a live bearer like V-piece that actually goes in there. The bigger one has a couple of compartments that are separated, and I don't think the smaller one has any, so depending on what size you get, it might vary on which live bearer dropping methods you might actually get, but they can be used for that as well. Another way they're super commonly used, and this isn't a intended use, I guess, for them, as far as I know, but a lot of people grow plants out of them. They use them for like aquaponics, or if you have a cichlid tank and you want to run some pothos or even some aquarium plants or something like that, you can put this on the side of your tank and you can run plants through it. I've even seen people make these into like DIY filters, whether they attach a little pump to the bottom of the intake tube so there's an actual powered pump, or they keep just the airline tubing in and they just put a ton of air through it and then it moves a bunch of water. There's a lot of things that can be done. It's super, it's a plastic box that hangs on the side that moves water through it. I mean, you can do pretty much anything you want with it. Now, there's a couple of cons that I don't like about this filter. Me personally, I don't actually mind this, but I know I was asking a couple other people that I know don't like these filters. Trent Weldon with Well Done Tanks is one of them, and one of his biggest gripes with them is he doesn't feel like they move enough water. Now, for me personally, I feel like they move enough water. He also feels that the debris catches up and kind of gets stuck in them a lot. I use a turkey baster when I need it, but I actually like a little bit of debris at the bottom of the breeder box because I feel like it's better for the fry. They can kind of sit there and nibble at it all day. But again, that's my opinion versus his, but I just wanted to throw that out there because not everyone has the same opinion as me. Now, the two biggest gripes that I have for them are the price and getting them. So I have one local fish store that carries them out of like 20 within the immediate like hour. They very rarely have them in stock, and when they do, they're a good price. They're like, the small ones I think are like $8-9, and the large ones are like $15, and the mediums are kind of somewhere in the middle. But most of the time I have to order them off of Amazon. The biggest problem I have on Amazon is they aren't always available, and when they are often marked up. So like at the time of filming this, I want to say I went and looked and they were out of the medium and small, or out of the medium and large, and the smalls were selling for like $35 or something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous and not worth it. but I found a good sale. If you kind of sit and wait and grab them just in case. I bought all of my medium ones for $2 a piece on a sale on Amazon. Super good deal, right? And I bought my large one for like $8 or $9 on sale. So they can be kind of cheap, but the price fluctuates a lot. So it's one of those things you'd rather have on hand versus, oh crap, I need one in a week. Let me order one now. You kind of want to go ahead and take care of that in advance, get it all set up, and have it in your possession just so that you know you have it. Now, the other big gripe that I have about it is depending on what type of fry or what type of stuff you're using it for. If you're using it as a holding tank for big fish, that's not a big deal. But if you're raising fry in it, the grates, even the small grate that it comes with, are big enough opens that a lot of the fry can go through it. So like I'm raising Japanese rice fish in one right now, and when they're hatched, and they're first hatched, they are small enough that they go right through that grate, no problem. Zero problem at all. And I was losing a bunch of fry to that. And so what I had to do was I had to actually remove the grate and stick a little piece of sponge media in there, whether it's like an aqua clear sponge or just whatever. I know some people use like filter floss, but that gets clogged real easy. And so you can put a couple of things in there, but my biggest issue with that is it does get clogged a little easier than that grate, but that's part of having the, a finer system. And so that's the biggest downfall it has for me personally, is I don't like the outflow system just because the fry tend to get way too sucked into it. All right, so let's go into how to set one of these up. I'm going to use the medium one for demonstration purposes just because it was on top and it's here and it's a little bit easier to grab if I can get it out of the box. But they're super simple. So they come and they're all pretty much in here. All the pieces are in it. And I'm just going to sit them all off to the side here. Like I said, this is the medium one. So it's got this... Oh, I dropped one of the grates. So it's got this live bear separator that goes in here. And you put the big fish up front. The fry go down in the bottom. I don't really use this just because I colony breed most live bears. There's a couple of grates. So this is the smallest one. There's a bigger one. And it slides in right up here on the outflow. Like I said, I don't like using it just because I have fry that escape from it. But what I do instead is I have a little piece of sponge that I will actually put in the outflow. So just like that, and that way when it goes out of the outflow, the sponge blocks all the fry from going. And it's just a little piece of sponge. I got it cut short enough so I can still put the lid on top of it. But that's all that I do. Next part of the system is you've got this little overhead piece, and it also has a water connector thing. It's real hard to understand what it's used for, but that goes on the end there, and that pops in just like that on the hang-on back filter. And then you have your intake pipe that just slides on here. There is a gasket, and the nice thing about these is you can adjust the height of them. You can go up or down a little bit. I usually keep them at full length just because. And then there's a bottom piece right here that goes at the bottom of the intake. That just pops on. That's where your intake of the water is going to be. It comes with this air line and this air valve flow control. Like I said, I run a USB Nano air pump, and I just let it run full power, so I don't always put these on. I just run it straight to the pump. Trent, one of his big complaints was he doesn't like this. He thinks they're cheaply made and not very good. But if you're in like a main air system or something like that, you're definitely going to want some sort of flow valve. I just got some Zis ones from the co-op. Really, really nice. Might be worth the extra $1 to upgrade if that's what you're looking for. And then it also has this tank leveler, and that comes just right in the bottom, and it has different sizes so that depending on where you're putting it, you can level the tank depending on the thickness of the glass. And then the other thing that I like about it is once the lid's on it, this medium part right here is actually, there's a little slit, and it's for the overflow, just in case this gets clogged. So there is a little backup plan just in case, but the biggest problem there is, again, if it gets to the point where it's overflowing and overclogging on that, the fry are going to be able to escape through there. So that is one thing to keep in mind. There is a backup plan, but it's not the best. And then you just plop it in the tank, hook it up to air, and it'll just fill up. Or you can pour some water in and let it go a little quicker. I usually just plug it in and let it suck up the water itself. But again, not a big deal. So yeah, like I said, I really like the Marina hang-on back filters, or hang-on back breeders. I keep wanting to call them filters. I I think they're super practical for my situation where I can't set up a lot of tanks. I can hang these off the backs of tanks or the fronts of tanks, and it gives me just that extra space for fry grow out or whatever, versus having to use like internal breeder boxes that just don't work very well. Here's when I'm doing water changes, I have to sit there and like constantly push them down, put them up, etc. And for me, it's just been the best situation for my needs on raising fry and having extra storage space. So let me know if you've used the Marina hang-on back breeder boxes, not hang-on back filters, breeder boxes. Let me know if you've used them, let me know if you like them, if you don't like them, what flaws you have with it, if there's any like solutions. I know a lot of people have like little hot rod tricks for it. Like I said, the sponge is pretty much the only thing I do to modify it. I like it just the way it is, but there's always little issues here and there. And yeah. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. We upload videos every Friday and occasionally some bonus ones throughout the week. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.